we actually had to seek some outside help for our sweepstakes because our priority was quality over quantity. We didn't want girls to just tag one advertiser 100 times. We needed to make sure that she found all 14. And we also had to make sure that we were deduping from unique devices, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, and also just creating that technology that would allow her to enter the sweeps if she missed the original tag in the front. So we actually worked with Nellie Moser. I know John was up here last. They were a great partner for us just to help us with that piece of the puzzle.
I think for us it was resource-based, really. It was, the number of tags that we had in the book was, a lot. And from a magazine design standpoint to the QAing of the tags and making sure that everything was going to work the way it should was a big part of it. And then secondly, justifying that time and expense and having to explain, to the powers that be that we were going to gain a lot of knowledge from this that we could use in a lot of different ways, which we have, not to mention the building of a database that's incredibly valuable. And also understanding what women are scanning and using that to even influence content decisions. So there was a lot of sort of forethinking about what the value would be, and that's all kind of come to light. And now that we're walking into August again, a lot of that learning is going to come through in this, and again, I think the biggest part of it is the database and the information that we gleaned from where people are, what they're scanning, and then getting that information and being able to set the pages up so that we can reach out to them again.
Well, it sounds like it starts off being an experiment, and over time, as you use it more, it starts to become more strategic, because you're able to use that information. You guys did mention resources there a couple of times. If you could just speak to briefly about who did this internally within your organization and how much did it cost? Just ballpark it for people, because I think that's a useful context.
Okay, me again, right?
Oh, you know what? It's an open forum.
The cost us, it wasn't a lot because we already had, as I said before, thousands of hours of video, so it was very easiest to process. Our sourcing people really were very important to us in terms of putting the actual the program together. So really, cost was not an issue.
Okay.
It was the resources probably at the beginning were pretty heavy because, as I said, a lot of the team was doing this for the first time.
What kinds of people were doing it?
It was our marketing team,
Okay.
who was on that side, and of course the editors who were working to create the
Okay.
videos. So there was that video creation, and we actually had to do quite a lot of videos over a relatively short period of time. I think that the cost wasn't huge. It was certainly far outweighed by the positive experience that we've given our readers, by the learning that we've gotten by this technology, by the fact that we were able to drive incremental ad revenue. I mean, the payout was about a 7-to-1 on the ad revenue versus the cost side, so it was really, really awesome. And we're going to do it again in our October issue for our food awards. We've already got a bunch of advertisers already signed up for that, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, we also saw, for a financial benefit besides the advertising, but renewal rates.
Oh.
Were jumped up. And again, as we kept on giving a better, valuable reader experience, they realize they're opting in more for their higher subscription rates, and so.
Okay, that's great. Did you guys have more to add on that? Because I have way more questions. Really? Okay. In terms of how do you measure success? What are the metrics that matter? What are the things you're tracking? What are the metrics that you get, but you think, yeah, that's not it. I don't need that information. I need this information. How do you make those decisions? How do you define success? And we can start anywhere you want on that panel.
For us, because it was an advertising promotion, it was, did we drive incremental business? And we did. So
okay.
It was a home run from that perspective. We also wanted to look at the behavior of how she was reading throughout the book, and also what day of the week. We got all that kind of information, as well as the opt-ins, as you mentioned. It was great to be able to get them to sign up for more. So those were some of the things that we learned, and then we also learned things that we need to do next time better, which is great. And in terms of the resourcing, we pretty much were able to do it inside because we had someone who was really, really on it, wanted to do it. big time. And then, also reaching out to have somebody else assist with that, but taking the guidance from, Microsoft and also Nellie Moser on how to do that.
I think for us, being told by Microsoft that we had the largest number of scans of any magazine was, all we needed. I mean, not that magazine people are competitive or anything,
No, but a million's a big number. Well, you guys have actually covered really well best practices, I think. I mean, you've discovered them on your own by putting lots of tags in and by doing a lot of reader education. What other kinds of best practices come to mind that you have kind of stumbled across that you think would be really valuable to know, if anything comes to mind?
Well, I would just say overall, and I think from hearing everyone talk, I guess we get this, but to me this would be kind of a watch out for everyone. These are only going to work for consumers if the content they're getting is valuable. I mean, if we just put crummy stuff up there, after a while, people aren't going to scan these things. They're not going to be valuable. I mean, it's like, really anything we do. I mean, the content matters. And, we were really careful. We actually decided not to run a couple of videos because when we got them back, we realized that they weren't that good. And so, I would just say for everyone, if you're going to do this, whether you're an advertiser or whether you're a publisher, you really got to make sure that the content you have is something that consumers want. I mean, we see that in every form. They're very picky, and they should be, and they have a lot of different opportunities out there. So I would just make sure that everyone keeps that in mind.
Yeah, and I would say, our wish list obviously is let's say you come across a Callaway ad, you download the video, and what it does, it automatically takes you to an opportunity to learn more about the actual equipment, and then there might be some kind of, maybe it's a discount offer, maybe it's something within that tag or within that engagement that you actually go right to a Golfsmith, right to a Dick's, and you scan it across the register, and what incredible value you have. You learn a lot more about a product. You just got about 10-15% off of a certain product, and you walk away a very happy customer.
Right, and with the location-based data, you'd be able to even get an idea where that local store is. Exactly. So you've talked about how important that back-end experience is. I did hear some of the other panelists talking earlier this morning about the importance of UI and the UI design for mobile. At what point do you decide to go out of house for some of this stuff, or do you have digital resources in-house to help you when it comes to mobile experiences yourselves?
Well, Time Inc. has a huge studio that is just fabulous. But we actually, for this, and probably because we'd never done it before, we decided to go outside because we went with a company that was really good at creating videos, had done it for the tag technology before. And we just wanted to make sure that we were leaving nothing to chance in doing this, and I think that was important. And we did that in we did it with U.S. Sweeps. They'd done back-end stuff like this. It allowed us to really focus on A, creating the content, and B, making sure we went out and were able to see advertisers and talk to them about the program and not have to worry about some of the other stuff. Okay, and I was going to ask a couple of questions to both Amy, Marie. How do you work successfully with advertisers?
Well, I mean, first, we had to make sure that they had actually a mobile experience that they could share, and we had to talk people out of doing it in some cases, because if they didn't have something that was additive, it was not a good idea. Even if we could get more business, it was not a good idea. So we really worked with them on that, and we actually in some cases had to help create mobile experiences for them. So we worked again closely with Nellie Moser, and in some cases other folks internally to make that happen for some of our clients.
It was really tricky for us because this was a complete editorial opportunity, so there was a sponsorship attached, but that was it. We sort of didn't allow anything beyond a sponsor logo on the mobile pages, but again, there were about close to 200 mobile pages ultimately, and the number of scans, there was great exposure, but we were very careful about sort of crossing those lines. And I think back to an earlier question that you had, that's sort of been, as we've approached this and everything that we've done digitally, it's about understanding, back to the content point, what's the best use of what kind of content where, and how are we reaching women where and when. And that's, I think, what made this successful, is it was less about more content and more about becoming a tool and a way for them to interact with the magazine, and it made the magazine actually mobile.
Yeah.
So it was a different sort of content experience, but it wasn't, it just wasn't extra content for content's sake.
Do you have any advice about how to work with editorial on this?
Editorial led the charge. I mean, for us,
Okay.
it was.
So they got it right away, and they were happy to go.
Right away, and we wanted to be an editorial-led charge because it had to explain and educate the readers. If we went to an advertiser right away, and again, it was a bad experience, and readers didn't know how to use the tag technology, then, as I said before, then they would never come back. So we really had to work it within the editorial first.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you one more quick question. Where do you think it's going? Where's the future? And then we're going to turn right to questions. So do you have any idea where the future of this is heading?
Well, hopefully with the greater penetration of smartphones, more and more people will have the readers, and it'll just be more accelerated in terms of how long it takes them to get on board and to adopt it. So short term, I think we have a great opportunity for growth.
And I think for us, it's, again, it's a matter of understanding, if the tags can be beyond the pages of the magazine, then that means the content can be too. So where else can we put tags outside of our magazine in order to reach consumers, whether it be in store and, retail and that kind of thing. So
Extending your brand.
yeah, exactly. And then also now we're, we had an internal debate recently about whether or not these tags in the August issue actually go into our digital magazine, because there was some debate about whether people are really going to scan device to device. And what we realized was that whereas in the print magazine, the SMS reminder tags, or the universal tag at the back of the magazine was really key because that was the entry tag, that with the digital magazine, it's the SMS reminders. So it's, I think a funny thing about the future of it is it becomes digital to digital.
Well, are there any questions out there? Because I have no time remaining. I would take just one, or could I take just one or two questions, Howard? Or I could take one question, and you have to stand up and repeat your name. Not that that should make you shy or make it nervous for you. Or...
Hi, I'm Roy Walter with KPMG. So beyond 2D tags with tracking, what is the Microsoft program offering, and how has that been leveraged distinctly with these, with the magazines here?
I'm not sure if I completely understand your question, but the tag program, tag is a trigger type that is a 2D barcode, right? But it's a totally free tag. All the analytics on the back end are free as well. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but if...
Well, I'm curious how they're leveraging, I guess, the tracking data, and whether it's being shared with your advertisers.
Oh,
how
that's really
transparent
your
is
question.
that,
There we go.
And how else are you leveraging the back-end data?
We are sharing information. Obviously, you can't give specific names for privacy issues, but it was really been important for us is the fact that globally, in terms of where these where people are actually downloading from, and I think that what we found with advertisers starting to look at either custom creative based on a region, or maybe higher sales efforts in certain region, as they were finding they were getting more exposure, throughout the globe.
We shared results with all of our advertisers, so we gave them how they performed, and then we gave them how they performed versus the average for the issue. And we wanted to make sure, too, that we had all different categories represented, because some of them did perform a little differently. And then we also shared, not who did best, but some of the best practices with each of them, so they know what should they do next time to improve the engagement.
Yeah, and we did what Amy said. We also had an opt-in opportunity where those who entered the sweepstakes also opted in to be part of our marketing database, where they could, so it helped us build our database and get us even closer to those consumers.
Well, I hope you'll join me in thanking this fabulous panel. They've done a terrific job. Thank you so much.